Welcome back to another part of this F1 25 My Team career mode. This is part number 12 today for the Italian Grand Prix and the debut for our new unlocked title sponsor livery, and maybe the livery will be running for the rest of this season at least. But last time out in the old livery, we were running so high and then it came crashing down immediately after the red flag, the rain causing havoc, and I had no chance. I got absolutely schooled by the AI. Plenty of mistakes in there, and it was another bit of pain at the end of a race. You know, that's been two difficult episodes from the British Grand Prix to the Belgian one, and this is maybe why. The reality is we are back down to the second worst team on the grid. It's still incredibly close, don't get me wrong, so there's still a chance to do something and be able to, you know, get the car up a bit higher than maybe it should be, because things are so tight-knit and, you know, situations can happen in the races. But it equally means it's that opportunistic for AI to also outdo me when there's things like rain, or when there's, you know, just things like a straight line advantage. So it's been tough, but this is the ebb and flow of a season one. We go ahead and unlock a new owner perk and get immediately on doing that training in the activity timeline that was to do with the contract talks, because that is also a massive part of this episode, because we'll be going into the end game talks with the likes of Jenson Button. But before we get on to that contract chat, going back to the performance of the car, this is how things look then. Still, you know, insane levels of upgrading from the AI. Red Bull doing a madness trying to solve their car issues of the IRL 2025 season. They're now technically the best team on paper. Ferrari second, but we've seen the Red Bull can be quite a handful no matter where it stands in the R&D chart. McLaren continue to fumble a bit, down to P4 in the R&D chart. Williams, Alpine, Aston, Haas all above us, and VCarb just about closing up and overtaking us. So we need to continue progress with the car. We've got upgrades on the way on the engine side of things, the chassis as well. The first tire upgrade is going to come onto this car in time for the Italian Grand Prix. And of course, in the pipeline, if you did watch last episode, you'll know we have the aero breakthrough upgrade on the facility side of things coming through, which gives us the next set of upgrades on the aero side. So that will mean every department, apart from durability, will have that next set of upgrades. We can actually do some work, because there was a hot minute there for a sec where basically we couldn't do any upgrades because we didn't actually have them available for the facilities. But the next upgrade I want to look at is going to mean that we have to go into phase 2 of the engineering, but it's that upgrade that allows you to do dual development. So right now we can do 2 developments at the same time, but they take up 2 separate slots. Whereas with the dual development upgrade, it means it only takes 1 slot and you can make both of the parts for both cars at the same time. And the other slot that we've already unlocked with a facility upgrade can be put to a different unique upgrade. So you can almost have 4 upgrades, basically 4 parts being made, 2 unique upgrades going onto both cars simultaneously, which would be a real big thing. And another thing that I've gone straight away and upgraded and bought is the contractor management to allow us to build 2 facility upgrades on engineering at the same time. That is going to pay big dividends long term, because when we have enough money to do that, we can then make 2 facility upgrades at the same time, and none of this waiting around for one to come in, then the next, as we go to a now kind of sponsor dilemma about a fitness center. They want to build one. It will affect the focus of the drivers, but boost the loyalty. I reckon in the long term, that'll come back around to also help the drivers out, maybe, if it has a tangible actual improvement to what they can do as drivers. So we're going to go ahead and accept that. And I mentioned phase 2 of the engineering facility earlier. Well, with that aero breakthrough upgrade coming in, it is now going to unlock phase 2 for us for the first time, with this pretty neat little animation as we zoom out and get a bigger picture of the engineering department. And it's almost like it's grown in size, basically. It's got bigger. And so phase 2 is unlocked. So at some point, we can now buy that very upgrade, the dual development that I just spoke about, and a whole host of other upgrades as you may have seen in those menus, there's actually so much you can upgrade. Like, there's even a phase 4 in this game. I think it was in the old My Team, there was only 3 levels of facilities, whereas now we've got 4 phases of these different departments. So yeah, a lot to dive into over the course of, you know, multiple seasons in this series. But the work continues then. We get immediately on making a drag reduction upgrade on the aero side of things to hopefully come in time for the Italian Grand Prix. Obviously, Monza, the Temple of Speed, will be very, very good to get a drag reduction update on for that one. And speaking of the Italians, well, there is a certain Italian that I want to try and just suss out where his head's at, where his expectations are, if he were to engage in conversations with us to be signed. And to my surprise, it's really not that bad. Engineering workforce is pretty large, but fan rating, he only wants level 3, Antonelli does. Vehicle performance 6, which might be difficult for us to get by the end of the season, but there's already a 68% chance of signing. The salary's pretty tiny, 3.6 million. You know, that's in comparison to Button's, you know, over 20 million salary. Tramnitz, I think, 1.3 or 1.6, so Antonelli, not too bad. So if it really doesn't look like we're going to be able to sign Button, as I said, I really fancy maybe going for Antonelli. That's if Button doesn't want to sign. That's still my #1 priority and desire, is to keep him on for at least one more season for the sake of, I think the story, I think for me, a great story would be being able to win a race again with Jenson Button, with this team. And then after that, I'd be satisfied that we've done a job well done, him returning to F1. He is getting on, you know, he's in his 40s. At that point, then I'd be very happy to let him go, and we'd then focus on 2 junior drivers or whoever's going to lead the team into that next era. And to that effect, we've stopped communication with Ocon because I just don't think we're going to go for him. And a bit of a funny glitch there with the menu. If only we could sign 2 Antonellis. That would be incredible. As we now get to the season break, the summer break in the season, with that much time in the activity timeline. So skipping ahead, but that's going to get some of the upgrades done. And thankfully, also, we get a new sponsor for the team, for the livery. Exo Tiger, that is, as a second sponsor. We'll get to that later. But first and foremost, here we are then. Jenson Button's end game talks. This is the final set of talks, the final time we'll see this cutscene with him this season at least, to engage with him, to get that contract to a more favorable place. So now our engineering workforce is down to 190. So that's very much possible for us. Fan rating 6 is still way out the question, and performance target 4. But on the contract side of things, there's a 72% chance of him signing now with a salary of down to 23.3 million. The bonus is now only 1.8, and there's no longer a penalty. So you can see that actually with the endgame talk bonuses, it's kind of laid out quite nicely. So there's no performance clause. There's the annual salary reduced by 5%, and the chance of success has been increased by 10. So 72% is really decent. I'm actually quite confident that hopefully we can be in that 72% rather than out of it, and he will go for that. And I'm comfortable with the salary being 23.36 million because we're already paying him 32 million over the course of this season. It's just subtly been in the background there. The driver's salary every week is nearly 900k. We're already used to operating like that with such a deficit to the salary, and for me it means a lot to have him there for the sake of the story and for what this team stands for. So that's why I'm keen to still go for him, whereas for many of you, maybe you might be thinking financially that sounds ludicrous, it looks ludicrous, but that's just the way it is. I mean, that's the whole point of what this team was based around. And so to that effect, we go in to see the different counter offers. But to be honest, I think the original contract proposal here now, after the endgame talks, is probably the best one to go with. The left two, a little bit too lower chance, and then the middle one, it's a much higher salary, and I'm kind of comfortable and want, hopefully, him to accept this current offer. So we're going to go ahead and send the contract, and it's going to be fingers crossed, basically.
Okay, sent. Now we wait. Hopefully we'll hear back soon, but these things do tend to drag on. Let's keep our fingers crossed and just focus on what we can control. I'll let you know if I hear anything.
So I'm hoping we do hear back basically within this episode. I think we should, because there's still plenty of time to go in the activity timeline till the Italian Grand Prix, being, you know, this time of the year in game with the summer break. You know, you can see there's plenty of different activities and events that are happening, and we've got upgrades pending. So I'm hoping we will hear back at some point shortly. But as we go on through, it is that time of year also where you're reviewing how things have been going, and that includes the cost cap.
Hey, boss. Just a reminder that we need to comply with the sports cost cap. We can spend, but only to a point. We'll need to keep abreast of our outgoings to ensure that we're within the rules. Or else we'll be in serious hot water, and we'll suffer some big punishments. We'll be able to compete while staying legal, though. Take a look at corporate for more info.
So as you can see, we're well within the cost cap. We can review the finances, but I already knew we were operating well below the overall cap, and you can see from, you know, compared to what we've spent so far, we've still got plenty of the cap to I mean, look at that. That's just it's almost comical how low we are compared to the cost cap target. So yeah, I don't think we're going to be worrying about that until about like season maybe 4, if that. I don't know. I genuinely don't think that's going to be a worry for us. But what is going to be a worry is this.
Bad news, I'm afraid. They were dissatisfied with the terms we sent over. You'll have to let us know if you want to go back in for them. I'll await your word.
Oh, that is so unfortunate. That's not what I wanted to hear. We can go again and resend him a contract, I think with a slightly higher salary. Is that? I mean, his expectations are going to be the exact same, of course. But yeah, it's a slightly higher annual salary and then maybe a slightly higher bonus payment. And we're kind of hoping that's going to be enough to butter him up. But he's going to lose patience. It's still a 70% chance. But, ooh, I mean, let's see. We're going to send it again and see what he says. But we know that Antonelli is there now and that he could be a possibility. So we're keeping Kimi on the back burner in case JB doesn't fancy re-signing. And as you guys have said, there is a story there of him stepping back. He's done what he wanted to, returning to F1, and maybe he's ready to just once again step back into the shadows, maybe just be there as a team advisor to the board of directors here at AAR, and that certainly would be something I would have to accept as a fair enough sort of way to go about things. But now our minds move towards the race at hand, the Italian Grand Prix, upgrades coming in, but there's also an aesthetic change to make to this car. As I mentioned at the start of the episode, we've actually unlocked a brand new title sponsor livery for the very first time in this game by just doing the diligent work and getting that reward. And we've had a lot of fun with this livery since the start of the game, but I think this new one may just be a strong contender for the livery we run for the rest of this first season, because not only is it a striking new look on the sides with now space for a sponsor front and prominent on the side pods compared to the last one, that front end, you've got to admit, more than the first one, is giving big Brawn GP vibes with the fluoro yellow in a kind of, you know, ring line around the nose cone. But let's take you through the entire livery, because now we've had to do quite a lot of movement with the decal editor, but we can now have a big sponsor on the side pods. Slingshot now nice and prominent as they are on the halo, now on the actual side pod itself. We've moved around some of the sponsors on the side of the chassis because of the design you know, on the inlet. It doesn't really work too well with sponsors there. On the nose cone, X4MiG now takes over the top of the chassis, so we've moved the Slingshot sponsor down below. So we've now got 3 in a row on the nose, looking even more realistic like a real F1 team. We've now got a sponsor on the upper flaps of the front wing. A couple of logos swapped out on the rear wing and enlarged because of the more simple design on the end plates. And now the entire halo is in white. And so we've updated the Slingshot logo and the others to match. So not only from the outside, especially from that front end, is it going to look more like a Brawn GP descendant. From the onboard now, when we get into qualifying immediately, you'll see it looks a little bit more like a Brawn GP descendant than before. And I reckon we stick with this one for the rest of Season 1. But let me know your thoughts if you want me to maybe return to the original one, if you're not really vibing too much with this one. And then, of course, at Season 2, it will be all changed for a brand new car. Let's get into quali.
They call it the Temple of Speed, and the pilgrims have come to worship. It's all about the speed today. Qualifying awaits us. Welcome to Monza for the Italian Grand Prix.
Overcast and a bit wet and wild at the start of the Italian GP qualifying, but it's drying out, so you join us at the end of Q1. You can see everyone is getting out there, including us. We've only got 2.5 minutes to go, and everyone is on a new set of soft tyres. There have been some people that did go out for a banker lap on Inters, but it is dry enough now for the softs. We're wasting no time. We're not going to stay behind people, and we're going to get through the traffic just so that we can make our own decision at the end of this outlap of where we want to be on track. As maybe a cheeky little, long play slipstream may be quite important around here, as it is in real life. But for now, just getting past these cars that are wanting to go slow, and it gives us the choice. And the choice I made was I actually fancy being back behind the Ferrari maybe, as we know we're not going to get held up by the Ferrari. That car will probably be going for pole position, and I'd rather that than maybe Antonelli ahead of me, as we've seen Mercedes and Antonelli have struggled a little bit with some one-lap pace and overall form. So I just thought maybe the safer bet is Leclerc ahead of us. He's not going to be going slow, and we might just pick up a little long-range tow. It's going to be minuscule, really. In fact, in hindsight, probably should have gone a little bit earlier compared to Leclerc, just so we get closer to him and actually get a proper tow. But we made a bit of a hash of turn one there, I can't lie, as we went a bit deep. Obviously, grip is not fully up there, as the track is very green, i.e. it's been raining, it's washed away the rubber from free practice sessions, and so the track doesn't feel at its fastest, and we are making a hash of most of these corners going quite deep. So Tim Tramnitz, though, has gone quickest of all, as the lap times are piling in, as everyone is going quicker and quicker. It may be a case of who's last on circuit as we... Oh my god, no. We only went... Oh no. Oh my... Well. In the race weekend, in the backdrop of, in the middle of contract negotiations with Jenson Button, we've been knocked out with Jenson in P19. I'm in good company, though. The fact that Max Verstappen, bloody hell, Max Verstappen, the championship leader, has been knocked out. That's pretty massive, and I feel a lot better about being knocked out because Antonelli's joined us, Piastri as well. So we've got some big names and good company here in the drop zone. So it wasn't just us that got caught out of it, but clearly it was wherever you were on track. The two Williams up there, the Haas of Behrman. So I mean, it's just one of those things. It's a changeable quali, and we've been massively caught out. And it's now just time to recover in the race. And it's going to be the same for Max Verstappen. The championship leader has got it all to do to try and maintain his lead on the exit of this race weekend.
A difficult race awaits these drivers here in Monza, but glory awaits too at the Italian Grand Prix. So with the race not far away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. A fantastic effort from Charles Leclerc yesterday, and it's put him on pole. And it's Lewis Hamilton alongside. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Sainz, Norris, Alex Albon, and Tsunoda, Russell, Gasly, Fernando Alonso, and Liam Lawson, Behrman, Ocon, Lance Stroll, and Hadjar, Tramnitz, Bortoletto, Andrea Kimi Antonelli, and Jenson Button, Piastri, Verstappen, Doohan, and Nico Hulkenberg rounds off the grid. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track. And alongside me here today in the commentary box, Anthony Davidson. As many people expected, our 11th team have struggled a bit this season, but there is a light at the end of the wind tunnel maybe for them, in that they'll get more time in that tunnel for next year.
Absolutely right, Crofty. It's almost like, think of it like this, a success tax. It's a nice problem to have, isn't it, really? But that's what the team are going to face moving forwards. But look, they've shown their quality so far, and I'm sure even with that limited wind tunnel time, they'll be great.
So from the back of the grid, I think we're going to need a bit of a different strategy in order to catapult ourselves up the order. Now, it is Monza. Typically, I would think a one-stop would be the bog standard, but no, it looks like a two-stop is going to be on the cards for most people if you go off what my strategy screen was, which was a two-stop, and there was even a three-stop in there. I think we start on the mediums here. We go as long as we can, or dare to, go on to the hards, and then see if we can get to the end. I suspect maybe a couple of people around us, like Antonelli and Verstappen, might be trying the same thing. Piastri might be doing it as well, but just the other way around. But I really do think the one stop for us today is the way to go to try and get up the order. I mean, Tramnitz, to be fair, hasn't done much better. P15 ahead of us. So really the car struggled over one lap. So I think the only way we can make this a successful Grand Prix is by going a little bit different. And compared to any other circuit, you know, this place is a place where I think we can maybe try and make a one-stop work, even if no one is telling us it can work. The data, the engineers, whatever in this team are not saying it can work. It's not been suggested. I think this place is the place to try it. With our brand new unlocked title sponsor livery, hopefully that's going to bring the good luck for this strategy as we go to 5 red lights. And the Italian Grand Prix is underway. The Tifosi will be loving that front row Ferrari lockout as it's a so-so getaway for us. A little bit of room on the right-hand side here to try and launch it down the inside of Bortoletto. We ought to get Antonelli. Tramnitz is somewhere there on the left of us. We go really wide into turn 2 just to give a massive amount of room to not get any of our end plates or, you know, floors hit. And thankfully, we've come out unscathed ahead of Hadjar in P14. Verstappen also making a lot of places up. He's up to P16 then. So both of us looking to get up the order. And you know what? It may be a strategy at some point in this first stint. See where Verstappen is. He's in a much quicker car. A strategy play may be letting him by, making it easy for him to overtake us, and then trying to follow him through as he cuts through this midfield, because he's the championship leader. He's expecting to make a comeback, isn't he? As we see Sainz versus a McLaren there, I think that was, as Behrman's going real slow ahead of us. Lawson ahead of this train. I think he just got overtaken by Fernando Alonso, so he slowed everyone up there. Stroll in the middle of the train pack ahead, and then behind it's Hadjar, Verstappen, Antonelli and Tramnitz just behind, as ahead it's Hamilton. 1 second the gap to Leclerc. Tsunoda though is right up there, so this is a bit of a shame. It should be Verstappen causing Ferrari a headache. It's Tsunoda instead, and meanwhile it's 3 wide between McLaren, Williams and Mercedes. Sainz versus Norris versus Russell as we try and size up a move on Ollie Behrman. Can we get down the inside of the Haas? He just got squeezed out by Lance Stroll, and we're going to find the room on the inside of the long right subtle curve. We're going to go to the inside and make the double pass, because we basically had to defend Behrman still, and we caught Stroll completely unawares. That was a very crucial overtake, just to give us a bit of clean air, if anything, just a bit of breathing room for the engine temperatures, also settling into a rhythm here and giving us chance to just calm a little bit and then re-engage with the fight ahead, because here at Monza, more so than even in real life, here in the game, it is just a slipstream fest. And this is the only place I will not critique a DRS train, because it's happened on every F1 game, because just with the nature of the slipstream on the games being so crazy, Monza is just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. At least they do swap. They don't just stay on the train. They actually swap all the time. Case in point, here we go. Ferrari making a swap. Leclerc overtakes Hamilton for the lead of this race, but I suspect it's we won't have to wait too long for Hamilton to come back at Leclerc, as Stroll comes back at me a little bit as we gain on his teammate Fernando Alonso. He's just been overtaken by Lawson. Big snap of oversteer though in the middle of that corner, and I'm trying to learn from maybe my mistakes in Spa and not overusing overtake mode like some of you are pointing out maybe. So I'm trying to learn a bit of restraint, but that is meaning that we are getting overtaken then by Stroll, because on medium, I feel like a lot of the time the AI, they're just, I don't know, they're just so perfect at knowing when to deploy. I don't know if they just do it in little spurts everywhere, but they just always have that extra oomph when you're not on battery and you're on medium. And so Stroll's got us. There's plenty of fighting still going on ahead in the top 10. Swapping going on for Ocon and Gasly. Albon versus Norris as Sainz and Russell have pulled massively away. What is this? McLaren, they're absolutely falling apart. Piastri second last, and Lando's just fallen down 4 positions in this race. If they're not careful, they're not even going to be P2 in the constructors. And I mean, obviously at this point, Lando's probably forgetting about the driver's title fight because Verstappen leads and the Ferraris are looking as hot as ever as Behrman repasses Hadjar as well. We are starting to go backwards a little bit. It's feeling all too familiar, like the ending of the Belgium Grand Prix. We come back at Hadjar and Behrman for the double pass. Under braking, we're pretty good, but we just don't have that edge in a straight line, and I'm really trying not to overuse the battery just so we have something later on in this stint, as we now watch Verstappen looking to make 1-2 passes. He's done it. It's a great little overtake there, and he's up into P14, and I celebrate that so much because I feel like in the past we didn't see quicker cars making those sort of overtakes. Like in real life, you'd expect Verstappen to make a double pass like that. But on last year's game, how often did we see quicker cars just get stuck in a train for the entire race? Whereas now you're seeing someone like Max in the Red Bull make those 2 quick passes. He's going to make the move on us as well, up to P14, because I don't put up a fight on purpose. We were actually none ERS, because now I'm going to try and deploy that tactic. I'm going to try and follow Verstappen through, get that DRS off him, and not necessarily, you know, completely overtake everyone he's overtaking, but if we can stay within that 1 second, he can just pull us along, and our pace should be pretty decent, even as the tyre wear starts to kick in on the left-hand side. You can see that tyre icon is brick orange, which means we're feeling the tyre wear. Thank God I didn't come in on lap 9, because Tramnitz is coming in, and my team want me to come in on this lap, but I am adamant that we should really try and aim to stay out as long as Verstappen. As we close up now to Verstappen making a move on Albon, we're going to catch Lawson unawares here and use a bit of the battery in this case to get the move done, just so we can continue to follow in Verstappen's DRS, as he couldn't quite make the pass on Albon, surprisingly, as the tyre icon now, by the way, as we make the move on the V-carb, is brick red. That's a little bit concerning. The tyre wear is astronomically high now, it must be, on the right-hand side. I daren't look at the heads-up display until that moment there, as we're nearing 80% tyre wear on the rear left, and still we won't come in. A couple of those guys that are coming in now, they've come off hards, and I'm continuing on mediums with Verstappen and Antonelli, I might add, because now, lap 11, this is the time to come in. The tyres are way too worn. I'm now out of DRS of Verstappen, and Antonelli is only just behind me, but we've done really well, I think. You know, looking at that tyre wear, I've done well to only be 1.5 seconds behind Verstappen in a Red Bull coming in. Antonelli comes in as well. So, as I said, I think Verstappen, me and Antonelli, all three of us, from the back of the grid, us three are thinking the same thing. Going long, going on to hards, and trying the one-stop, which is pretty damn cool. You know, very good company to have, I must say, in a race like this, to try that. And it's an excellent pit stop from the crew for once. We've jumped Red Bull in the pits. How about that? We've come out ahead of Verstappen then. That's worked out a treat. And now we're going to the end of the Grand Prix on this set of hards. Tramnitz almost goes round the outside and overtakes Verstappen into turn 1 and gets the undercut going. I was cheering him on. Annoyingly, Verstappen is going to remain in P15 and will in fact then overtake me. And again, we don't make it difficult because the game plan is basically the same as that first stint. You know, I will not mind not being ahead of Verstappen if it means I can just go in formation with Verstappen and Antonelli behind me and catapult up the order, because clearly most of this grid are doing a two-stop. If we've got people pitting off hards on lap 10 before I pit off mediums, they're definitely doing two stops today. So I think we could be in for not only some big points, but I think maybe even a cheeky little top 5 could be on the cards. But to my surprise, Verstappen, he overtook Lawson, but Lawson's come back at Verstappen. This is juicy. The two former Red Bull teammates, Lawson going back around the outside of the more senior Red Bull team at Parabolica. The home hero, Antonelli, right behind me. And we're not going to make a fuss on Antonelli either, because I thought, okay, if he's right there, maybe we have to concede. Yeah, Merc may have not had the pace this season, but the Merc should be quicker than us at most circuits. But lo and behold, Antonelli showing that maybe he just doesn't have that final bit of, you know, experience, because he just gets caught napping there into Ascari, and we get him again. And then I'm actually going to go ahead and overtake Verstappen, because Lawson is basically annoying him and us. Us being Max, me, and Kimi. Lawson, he's on the mediums. He is really frustrating this game plan of ours, and we kind of need to get him out of the picture. So we're going to go and try and overtake Lawson and try and maybe just defend him at the very next corner. A little bit more than you would expect, just to try and get him out of the way so that we can still deploy this tactic of staying in a DRS little pack with Max, with Antonelli, because genuinely this V-carb is slowing us down, I think, and it's only because he's on medium. So we're going to go for the DRS overtake, a little bit of battery, but we won't need a ton of it with the DRS. But then we just give him a good old squeeze to the inside, and that has just invited Verstappen through. And we then go through to Parabolica, and Verstappen will overtake us, where they're going to try and tuck in, but then defend Lawson as well, because he'll go for the move. So we go defensive there with Lawson and try and take him wide and invite Antonelli to then make the overtake. So if we can get the Italian ahead as well, then we'll be all good, because I don't think Lawson will be able to re-overtake all three of us if we're giving each other DRS basically. And Antonelli is sticking to the game plan here. Yeah, it's almost like all three of us have radio communication, honestly. It's been a slick operation, Verstappen, ourselves, and Antonelli, and we're now getting those free positions. Look at all those people in the pits. We're now into the points for the first time properly, you know, because we're going to the end now, 10 laps to go. So this is now the minimum we're going to get today, P10 you would say, and there's going to be more because there's still cars to come in. But Leclerc's made that second stop and he's ahead of Verstappen. So Ferrari, at least with Leclerc, won't have to worry about traffic. With Hamilton, though, I don't know what's happened, but Lewis is behind us. Leclerc leads, having made his second stop. Then it's Verstappen, us driving as Button. Antonelli ahead of Hamilton and Tsunoda. So maybe Tsunoda and Hamilton were fighting each other too much before that second stop, and so they've lost all that time to Leclerc. So Leclerc, he's set for a very dominant race win, you would say, on home soil. Hamilton and Tsunoda with work to do. Then you've got Sainz, Hulkenberg in the Kick Sauber, Gasly and Ocon round out the top 10. Tramnitz down in P18, unfortunately, on the two-stop, showing why we're doing the one-stop to jump up. And then this is just sad. This is just getting even more sad. Piastri's last. What a McLaren. What is this game doing with Piastri, honestly? Honestly, I mean, McLaren as a team in this season, I don't know about your guys' says, but McLaren are absolutely throwing what a good car they had away. Lando's running P11 here. Piastri's last. I mean, it's absolute capitulation for the reigning Constructors champions coming into this 2025 season, as there's lots of fighting going on, 3 abreast between Merc, Ferrari and Red Bull, and Kimi Antonelli. He is doing myself and Max a favour here, because he is holding up Hamilton and Tsunoda, and he's doing, well, it's more so he's doing me a favour, because I think Max will be fine going to the end in P2, but if you hadn't noticed, we're running in a podium position right now, and look at the job Kimi is doing. It's almost like he's auditioning to actually get signed by the team, because he just put in a shift, because the gap went from 2 seconds to 4.3 to whoever was behind us. It's now Hamilton, but he has held up Hamilton by 2 seconds there. He's going to hold up Tsunoda a little bit longer, but now Hamilton has got free air to chase us down. The gap is down to 3.9. So the question is Hamilton going to gain on us? He's now 2.6 seconds behind us, but Tsunoda all of a sudden is coming through to be that first car to attack yours truly, and so that might just hold them up more, as Sainz has overtaken Antonelli. Unfortunately for the home hero, he's down to P7, and the Williams is cooking once again in P6. Our focus now goes to Tsunoda maybe, as the car chasing us down.
Appears to be an issue. We're currently investigating.
Oh, okay, we've got a team radio about a car issue. Now, in the past, that has been an ERS failure. When Mark has given us that same exact radio message, that has been a total ERS failure, but for only 2 laps. But annoyingly, if the ERS goes for 2 laps, that's game over for us. Hamilton is now 1.5 behind. He's just overtaken Tsunoda. I think we're about to lose our podium, you know.
Okay,
oh,
looks
no.
like a mechanical failure.
We're about to
We're
lose
have
so
to ask
much
you to
more.
find a safe spot to retire.
No.
Sorry about that, mate.
No,
Okay, this is serious. We need you to retire as soon as possible.
Oh, there's so much more than a podium we're about to lose. We've lost the entire race. No. Oh, F1. F1 is a cruel mistress. It is a cruel, cruel sport. It's our first engine failure of the entire career series, to be fair. We were maybe overdue one at some point. We hadn't had one so far as a new team in Formula One. And I want to point out, this is a bit of a comical way to end our race, is we took Tsunoda and Sainz's front wing out. So I think we just helped Antonelli get a P4 there, but from a podium to a DNF, no points. Oh my God.
Charles Leclerc, what a drive, what a victory. He wins!
To come here and take victory as a team today on home soil was so important. You can see how much it means to them. The drivers there doing their part. The team's strategy was perfect as well. And the fans really embraced that. What a great atmosphere we had here today.
Well, it's a massive win for Leclerc. It's the home race win at Monza, just as he did in 2024. That's quite crazy. Hamilton, he won back-to-back British Grand Prix, 2024 to the in-game 2025 one here in this series. And Leclerc's just done that with the Italian Grand Prix for Ferrari's home race. And that makes it 3 Ferrari wins in a row, as we are still only 9 points behind Williams because of Sainz's front wing damage post my retirement. Williams didn't score, so he didn't actually lose that much in the Constructors, but we're now in an era-defining rivalry with Williams, which is quite surprising. So they've really tweaked the rivalry system to really go quite quickly. And I suppose it is kind of a new era for Williams being actually competitive again. It's a new era for us in the sport. So I kind of get it. Era-defining. It seems a little bit, you know, early, but I kind of also get it, so that's quite kind of cool. But we are losing that right now, and that means a lot of fan rating. So I want to try my hardest to get that. Because that would mean a lot of fan rating. And speaking of fan rating, we lose some fan bonuses. Because of that DNF, we've lost the perks of extra secondary sponsor income and extra perception with all drivers. I really hope that doesn't affect the secondary contract offer we've given Jensen. I really hope not, but that would be just such a stab in the heart, giving him that second offer, and then we come to the next Grand Prix and he's had a DNF in our car. Oh my god, this could be quite a big episode then for that situation. Who knows? Guys, it's heartbreaking, but that is Formula 1. It happens. If you have enjoyed it nonetheless, hit the like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. And if you're around here, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.